Hey guys, so I mentioned the last time that we are gonna do one more visual, but then I realized that we are going into a pretty bad pattern here. When I was looking at this air pollution view, I noticed that it's becoming this big, blocky monolith code for everything, and that's not the way you should be programming. It shouldn't be one huge function for anything. Functions are supposed to split the code into smaller components so you can manage them better. And this one here became this huge piece of code that shouldn't be this way. So I'm thinking, listen, we can continue doing this because my plan was to go and do something that is not ideal and then show you that how it can be way better. But I think I made my point already. This is very long and not very friendly. So let's split it now. Let's make our website, which, by the way, if you go to your portfolio, and by the way, I changed the picture so you don't have to look at my pretty face. Let's go into our air pollution app and see how it's loading for a long time. That's not ideal. And the more data we are calculating in the background, the more we have to wait. So I'm thinking, let's fix it now. Let's just go ahead and make the website load first, and then if we have any data to fetch, we fetch it in the background using AJAX, and then put the data into our visuals. So okay, let's maybe call this something like air pollution backup, for example, just so I have my code still in here, but I want to create a air pollution view here that will just take care of def air pollution request. Okay, and all I want to do here is to do get and post split. So if request dot method is get, then do something. I can't remember exactly, so I'm just going to put pass and then if I'm going to be specific here. So request method is post, then do something, and then if none of the above, else, and then do something. Okay, righty ho. And so let's have a look here. So what do we need for the get? And all I want to get for loading this page is only the form. I don't care about the data here. I don't care about the data here and any other visuals that we might add. We're going to have separate functions for each of these data sets. So let's go back here, and we don't need this. We don't need this. We don't need any of that. All we really need is the app name, not data, not visuals data. So I'm going to just go ahead and put the context. Okay, I'm going to just copy this. I copy not only because I'm lazy, but it also prevents me from making typos. So I don't need data. I don't need, okay, boom, boom, boom. Cool. And then if we go to post, yeah, here's the post. So we want to take all of the post here, and then take context. Okay, copy. Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna copy this to post method. Where is it? It's here. Okay, paste. And else, there was else in here as well in the old code, so I'll just copy this. And actually I'm gonna copy both of them because the return, we need the return for as the last line there. So boom. Okay, so now we have this nice air pollution function here that only takes care of rendering the air pollution page. It doesn't care about the rest of the data sets. Okay, so in here, if it's just a get, then all we have to say is, hey, give it an app name, because we need to be able to say in which app we are in. But then if it's a post, obviously send some information there, put that message to context when you're done, and if it's not get or post, then send an HTTP response with this message. Otherwise, just render air pollution welcome HTML. Okay, and then okay, we are going to do something with this in a second. Let's have a look and see what happens now. If I save this, let's just check if we are. We don't need to debug. I can just stop and rerun because I just want to see that it's being refreshed. Okay, let's refresh. And now it was very quick. If I go back and go down to my apps, go to my first app, air pollution app, and it was very quick. It loaded very quick, but obviously we don't have any of the data because I took it out. And what I want to do is I want HTML using JavaScript to tell the backend, to tell Django, hey, give me that data in the background. using asynchronous call using jQuery. So I'm gonna go to my templates and go to air pollution. Welcome. Yep. And in here, in the script part, all we do is we render our chart and then render our table, but it knows what to use from the context. I told HTML using Jinja that, hey, you're going to get some context, and in that context, there's going to be visuals data. Go through those visuals data objects and do something with it. Alternatively, we can ask for that data using AJAX. So we don't have it in our context anymore, so none of that happens. We need to call that from the backend using the script. Okay, and I think I'm gonna just do it in here inside of our script and inside of our document ready, because now we make sure that the HTML is being loaded, and now we can ask for the data. Now let's have a look at jQuery using AJAX. So we can either Google a jQuery AJAX, or we can look for just get, and we should get this. It's a shortcut. It's pretty much the same as AJAX, but in here we specify that we're looking for, as you can see here, you can use jQuery.ajax and then specify the URL, what kind of data we are sending, so it can work for both get and post. And then as a success, what do you want to do when the success is happening? And then we also specify the data type. In here, there is a quicker way of doing the get request. So let's maybe use this one, because we are not sending any data. We just want to ask for certain URL that we are going to build in a second to grab some data and send it back to us. Okay, so let's grab this template, go back to our code in here. I'm going to just option command L. Right. In here, we have to specify the URL. So let's call it air pollution / table data, let's say. For now, that's going to work. Function data, so it's going to send back some data and we need to do something with it. So for now, all I want to check is, what is it? Console log.data. Okay, we want to know what are we dealing with. So let's create this URL first with the view. So let's call it air pollution table data, accepting request. And so we need to take our table data to here, and then that's not going to be used. And we go to say we're going to take these two guys, copy and paste. And then again, if we have more if we have more functions that use this data and needs to recalculate it every time, we might want to put it out somewhere that it's being calculated once and then just gives it to different views, so we can use those. Okay, and now let's copy this. Okay, and up to here, copy this, paste it here, and let's have a look what we need, what we don't need. Okay, for pollutant, so we're doing this. We are not doing any of that. And then when we go through, we are checking some bits and pieces, blah, blah, blah. And then we don't care about this. Okay, that should be done. Now we want to send back this table data, which for now is an object, as a JSONified string. And instead of using JSON dumps, as we did before with the visuals data, I'm going to go here, and from the Django HTTP, I'm going to also import JSON response. Okay, and we can use this table. Where is it? Air pollution. Go down, table data. That's it. So we can take this and respond using the JSON response. We can just return it. So return JSON response with the table data. Okay. Now we obviously have to go to air pollution, URLs, and add the URL in here. And I'm going to add it underneath the the main one, because these two are just temporary views. So I'm going to just keep them as low as possible. And then in here, what was it called? I said table data. Okay, table data, view table. It's not called table data, it's called something else. It's called air pollution table data. Okay, and then name. Well, I suppose let's maybe stick to this naming. So I'll use it for the name, and I'll use it for the path, and then I'll use it here also as a path. So air pollution / air pollution data table data. Okay, so then we just use the same name, air pollution _ table _ data. So there's no confusion. So save that. Let's see if it reloads. It reloads, and now I usually use Safari just because I don't have my history there and I don't want to show my credentials or anything. But in here, I opened an incognito Chrome. So if you go to Option, Command I, so just like right click and inspect, you'll see the inspection. And I can see already that there is something wrong going on here. So it failed, although I was asking here in our JavaScript, hey, go to air pollution and then / air pollution, the table data. What it tried to do was it went to air pollution / air pollution again and / air pollution table. So probably because we are in like the air pollution domain, I'm just gonna go and do this, and that should work better. Right, it took it a while, obviously. So as before, it would load for a while the page. Now it's loading for a while the result, but now we have the result for the table. It's already a JavaScript object. I didn't have to unscramble the JSON, so it's kind of nifty if you use this. Where is it? JSON response. Automatically it becomes JavaScript object on the other side, so it's cool. Now all we need to do is put that into our table. Okay, so let's go back to the HTML. Okay, so what do we do with this data? What is the difference between what we had before and what we have now? I think this is similar. Like if you look at this, we already debugged it on the backend and it looked exactly the same. It was an object, it was a dictionary in Python. In JavaScript, it's an object, but it's basically the same thing. And instead of having it in the backend and rendering it and sending back, what we have to do, we actually have to put that in here using JavaScript. Okay, so we have this. I'm gonna just copy this actually, and we need to also specify this ID here. So let's call it table body. Okay, and so we have some ID that we're gonna grab and put some stuff inside. And let's go back here. And so I'm gonna use this, and I'll just paste it here as a helper. But what I want to do is I'm gonna just boom. So now it's grayed out. It doesn't do anything, but I can at least see what's going on and what kind of information I need to take from here, so I can render this table. So just like in here, we want to iterate through this data using the key and the value of it. Okay, so in JavaScript, this is how you would do it. Do for const key value of object dot entries of data. So you put objects dot entries and you put as an argument data here, and that's what's happening inside of this for loop. We might want to take this name here, so pollution name and pollution data instead of key value, as we did before. And then again, we're iterating through the country ISO and data in pollution data items. So again, for const country ISO and data. Well, we already use data, so let's just call it D for data of object dot entries in pollution data. Okay, so we are using this in here. Why is it? For some reason it shows that there is some warning here, but we'll see if it works. So then we need to create a TR, and inside of that TR we need to create those. Okay, so let's do it. So let TR be just a TR object. So this is how we build it. Oops, like this. And then one by one, we want to add to that tr. So tr.append, and annoyingly append, because append is something that we use in Python, not in JavaScript, but this is jQuery actually. So we are appending an HTML element to this tr element, which is also an HTML element. Never mind, you'll see what it does in just a second. So we're gonna add a th first. Yeah, we're adding the th element. So that's gonna be th element with some text in it. So we need to create this object here that has text, and that text is gonna be the pollution name. Okay, and we have this pollution name here, so we just put pollution name. Then next one is tr.append. So I'm gonna just go ahead and copy all of this code from inside of the brackets and change that to td, because we're looking at this. We're adding a, what is it? Country ISO in here, and then command D, td text, and we put data average, so D in our case, because we are looking at D in here, D dot a average. Okay, quick break. I had to go and let my dog out because she was barking and she wouldn't stop. Anyway, so data average, and then next one was minimum, and I can see that we're using something for float formatting here, so we're gonna take care of that in a second. That's the minimum, that's the maximum, and limit, data limit, boom, limit, and data units, units, okay, limit units. And what we have to do at the end, we need to grab the body here, so by table body ID, and append it to it. Okay, just like we did with the tr here. What we have to do here is do this, and I'm grabbing by ID table body append that tr. That should work. So let's delete this. Let's see if it works. Let's save and go here, refresh, and I'm looking here that boom. So it put that data in after a while, but as you can see, and what's all right. Okay. So the problem with that is that when we call for building the table, we call it in here. It shouldn't be here. Now that we wait for the data to come in, we need to finish the whole thing. So as we get and we go to function with some data, we have to go inside of this function here and do the whole thing with the putting the data in. And at the end, we need to say, hey, our table, we need to initialize the data table inside of this function here. It's a success function. I can delete this because I don't need that anymore. Delete this line maybe. And we have a nice code that is getting the air pollution data and for the table, and it uses that data to, we go through it and we build those rows with the data inside of the cells, and we append it, and at the very end, after we go through all the data, we initialize the data table. And let's save this. I actually don't have to save. I'm using VS Code at work, so I'm used to Command S now for saving, but I don't need to do that anymore. So now we're waiting for the table, nothing happens because it's loading, and now we have our, oops, let's go back. We have our table nice and loaded. Let's take this, okay. And now it's all in there, okay? As I mentioned before, we have a problem with the rounding, so let's round those numbers here. And for that, what we need to do is we need to use the function toFixed and give it a number of digits, okay? We do the same with minimum and maximum, and refresh again. We're waiting for the data to come, and we might just come up with something that just waits for the data before it's being uploaded. But anyway, it looks pretty nice. I think we are getting exactly the same result. but instead of waiting for the page to be loaded, it loads very quickly, and then we need to wait for the data to be loaded.